Hello, my name's Andrew, and tonight we're doing a little chat about my old arch nemesis, hyperthyroidism. So I was going to do this video in my cozy YouTube studio like usual, but I kind of ran out of time and the lighting wasn't that great anyway, so I thought, why not record in the van? And it's kind of relevant because it's about 10 degrees in Rochester, New York right now, and the thyroid is responsible for temperature regulation of the body, so you can be too hot or too cold like the climate is in the van right now. But anyways, if you're new to my channel, I post a lot of videos about natural healing. I've cured a lot of things myself with no help from the medical system. Thank you very much. And it feels really empowering. You know, like I've cured my allergies, I've cured my asthma, gut issues, brain fog. I've cured plantar fasciitis with barefoot shoes and on and on and on, you know. But the one symptom that I have always been struggling with that I haven't seemed to make any progress on is hyperthyroidism. And if you don't know, most people that struggle with thyroid issues are hypothyroid. They tend to gain weight and be very sluggish, but with hyperthyroid, you tend to be very skinny, very high energy, ADHD, you know, have a difficult time focusing. So even though you have like a ton of energy, it's kind of like a very chaotic energy, you know, and actually being at that high level all the time can cause you to crash, especially if you don't have like the right blend of nutrients. So anyways, I've tried virtually every diet in the past 4 years to try and make progress with my thyroid issues. I've done keto, I've done fasting and vegan, raw vegan, high fat, low fat, just like every possible combination, and nothing has worked. So for the past 4 months, I've been eating this very strange diet called raw primal, and it's kind of like a animal-based diet, but everything is raw. So like raw bison, raw egg yolks, and now I've worked in raw dairy as well, which is kind of awesome. I thought I was allergic to it, but it turns out I was just allergic to pasteurized dairy. But anyways, I've been working on it for the past 4 months. At first, it just kind of seemed like it was going to be like every other diet where it had some benefits, but then I was having some other issues, you know, like heart problems and, you know, like my heart just working too hard or waking up in the middle of the night. But I finally started to get on an even keel to the point where I think that I might be able to cure thyroid issues, you know, with all the other things that I've done. And one of the things that's been going on is that I've been writing 1,000 words every single day. I started about a week ago, and I've been procrastinating on writing this sci-fi book that I wanted to write basically since I was a kid for like decades, you know. And then finally I get onto this diet and it's like the gears are all working together now, and I've just been super creative. I have over 10,000 words. I think I have 11,000 something now, and I'm on chapter 3. And what's finally made the energy just click is that I've gotten the balance right of all the different things that my body needs. And it was very complicated, but like you have the pillar of sort of like high fat. That's really important, especially for someone that's hyperthyroid. I think honestly for everyone, because the body functions really well on fat. It just kind of, it digests like this, you know, where you get your energy and then it's just steady all day long, and then it sort of gently tails off, as opposed to doing a high carb diet where you're just kind of up and down and you need caffeine and sugar to keep going. So that's sort of like the main thing. Obviously I get a little bit of protein, but mostly it's fat. And then I'm getting my micronutrients like copper and zinc, and they're just so much more bioavailable in the animal-based form, especially raw, because when you cook things, it can destroy a lot of nutrients. Now the third pillar is iodine, which is super important for thyroid health, but it's kind of weird because like when you're hyperthyroid, a lot of things that are good for you that your body craves can also make you like overstimulated to the point where your heart starts to race and you have insomnia. So it's this weird like catch-22 situation. And for a while I was struggling on an animal-based diet, and really any diet. I was struggling on veganism too with iodine, because it would seem like I would have the iodine and then my body temperature would start to go up, you know, I would gain a little bit of weight and my energy would be better, focus would be better, creativity would be better. But then I'd start to feel like I had too much energy. It would be, you know, it'd be like nighttime and I couldn't go to sleep and I'd wake up over and over and over again in the night. So this is sort of like the piece of the puzzle that was really frustrating me. But then the past few days, I've discovered a secret. And basically it's that there are some people who can survive without any carbohydrates at all. But I do think that a lot of people need carbohydrates, and I don't know what the exact ratio is. You have to figure it out for yourself. But I was eating fruit and a little bit of raw honey, and that just wasn't enough. I felt like my heart was racing all the time. And so it took me a while to figure this out. But when I added a little bit more complex carbohydrate source with buckwheat, I've been sprouting it. It works pretty well cooked too, but I like to eat most of my food raw. it helps with glycogen, and glycogen essentially is stored in the liver. It's kind of like your quick access store of energy. So the problem with like a high fat animal based diet for some people, maybe even most people, is that you have this really steady source of energy, but like especially when you've just eaten a meal and you're processing that energy, there can be like this gap, you know, where you just don't have enough quick energy to access. So I found that adding about a quarter cup of buckwheat is working really well. I'm sleeping better at night. I don't have the heart symptoms that I had before, even though, you know, I'm eating mostly raw animal based. Like just adding that little source of carbohydrates made all the difference in the world. And then maybe, I don't know if this is a pillar, but one last thing that's been really helping me is just making sure I get enough selenium, because selenium is the element that prevents oxidative damage from iodine. And you can get pretty much all the selenium you need from 3 Brazil nuts a day, and also kidney, you know, the liver from bison or beef has a good amount of selenium in it too. But I found that when I have the 3 Brazil nuts in the morning, it seems to help balance the iodine and I don't get those racing heart symptoms. And I also have, like I said, the 1/4 cup of buckwheat, and that seems to calm me down as well. So I'm really excited about this because I've finally got things locked in, you know, like every day is really good. I've never had so much consistency. I score, like I've mentioned before, every single day out of 10 for just like my overall well-being and for creativity and sleep and whatnot. And for about a week and a half now, every single day has been an 8 out of 10 or higher. And part of the reason why I've been tracking this stuff is because I see so many people making natural health videos on YouTube, and I have been one of these people where they're just talking about like, oh, I feel this way, I feel better, but it's all subjective, So I just felt like it was really important for me to have this actual log where I could record my progress. And at this point, it's undeniable. However, I will say one of the hardest things about healing yourself naturally is that so many of the people around you are still stuck in like old ways of thinking where they're relying on the medical system and not getting anywhere. And it's almost like they feel angry at you or something, like I've talked a lot on my channel about my relationship with my mom, and it's like I just keep making all of this progress, positive curing things, and she just stays in the same place with the same old symptoms day after day, week after week, year after year. And it's really tough, because she's going into a failing state of health. And I know a lot of people can relate to this, especially with parents. It's like when people get older, and especially when people get older and they start to lose energy because they're not eating the diet that they need, they get stuck into like these loops, of thinking that you cannot get them out of. So like today I was having an argument with my mom because I was describing all these really positive changes and, things that I've done to test with my thyroid, different diets and balancing and stuff like that. And her response was like, oh, you need a doctor, you need to go to the medical system. I'm like, well, what do you think they're going to do for me? They're going to cut my thyroid out, and then they're going to put me on synthetic thyroid hormones for the rest of my life. That's horrible. And I was like, you don't want that for me, do you? And she was like, yes. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's your first thing, as a parent who is supposed to be watching out for her child. She thinks that the best thing to do is to cut body parts out. But this is the kind of insanity that you have to live with in a modern society where it's normalized to just like Frankenstein, the population and just constantly take out their organs and replace it with something synthetic. So on the brink of curing myself of the biggest symptom that I've ever had to work against, I think the main thing that I've learned, the most important thing, is just like the self-trust and the determination that you are going to do this, because I think a lot of people sort of wallow around in this middle ground when it comes to health. They like want to get healthy and they sort of have this vague vision of wanting to cure themselves and do it naturally, but it's so difficult and it's so complicated, and there's so much peer pressure that people just give up. And giving up on your health is like giving up on your dreams, because if you're not healthy, then you can't accomplish anything. You don't have the energy you need, to write a book, to do something really big. And I'm so grateful going back to 2020. I mean, I wish I had made a decision earlier, but that decision that I was just never ever gonna go back into the medical system, and that I was 100% committed to healing myself. It was like a yes or no thing. You know, there was like no middle ground. It wasn't like, oh, like maybe I'll sort of do this and sort of try this diet and maybe go to the doctor once in a while. It's like, no, I'm never going to the doctor again. I'm going to cure myself. And here I am, having cured so many symptoms and being on the brink of curing another one. So all this is to say, no matter what you're struggling with, whether it's thyroid issues or something else, it all comes down to that first moment where you say yes or no. And that doesn't mean that it's easy, but after that moment, everything else will start to fall in place. So yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me in this freezing cold van that doesn't feel that cold right now that my thyroid is coming back online. And I hope you're having a good night. I'll catch you next time. Peace.